Hello and welcome back to the Sports Brief Podcast. Man, it is good to be back. First things first, we got to introduce our guest, Mr. Shea Connot. Thanks for joining us tonight, big guy.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So we got a couple of things to cover tonight. Obviously, one heck of a week. The Vikings fall. That's just how it goes being a Vikings fan. But before we get into our entire outline here, obviously got to ask you guys to subscribe for weekly and really just everyday takes from the Sports Brief Podcast. Everything containing sports. Anything you want to know about sports, we're the ones to give it to you. Make sure you drop us a like and also drop a comment to know what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, so that way, hey, we can keep getting better. One thing before we kick the show off, I just got to issue a little bit of an apology. I've been pretty much gone the last week. This is why we're doing it on Sunday. Girlfriend came into town, was pretty busy, so sorry to all listeners. Don't worry, we'll get back on the main schedule and we'll get this thing rocking. So the first thing I guess I wanted to talk about was a little bit of the recap in the Packers and the Vikings playoff games, even though Packers are playing the 49ers right now, and, well, let's face it, the Vikings aren't. And they did, and they got pretty much creamed. So I actually kind of want to talk a little about. I'll start it out with the Packers. I actually want to start by saying what are the keys for the Packers with this one, because it's 0-0 first quarter, 6 minutes left to go. Just started it. Looking at this, it's still a very fresh game. Mr. Connor, could you please tell me, what do the Packers need to do here?
I think most importantly for the Packers is, all year they've played 2 good quarters every game, and then 2 absolutely terrible quarters every game. Mm-hmm. Like with the last game of the regular season at the Lions, they played awful in the first half. Just probably the worst half football they played all year. Mm-hmm. And then come back, they barely win. They shouldn't have won that game. Barely win. And then against the Seahawks, you saw them play amazing in the first half. They looked great. Second half came around, they couldn't really move the ball. Mm-hmm. Davante Adams had that long touchdown reception. But, mm-hmm. Other than that, they didn't really do much in the second half. Mm-hmm. I think most importantly is putting together 4 quarters of play, and then other playmakers are going to have to step up in the offense. Like Davante Adams and Aaron Jones can only do so much. Those surrounding wide receivers like Geronimo Allison and Allen Lazard, they're going to have to make plays in this game for the Packers to get a Super Bowl berth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you think, I was kind of looking at this, and I'm not trying to take shots at anybody. Aaron Rodgers, I've said this openly on the podcast multiple times. He's the most talented quarterback, not the most accomplished, the most talented. Like when I see Aaron Rodgers as a Vikings fan out of the pocket, I shiver. Like I literally shake because of what the man does while he's on the run, when he's outside of the pocket. I think I saw like 5 highlights tonight of literally the man throwing a dime touchdown pass, as time expired. He's done it multiple times. So, it's Aaron Rodgers, but I want to say he's not himself this year. It's obvious he's not the normal guy that's going to throw 45 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And I think a little bit of that is, to be honest, the receiving core he has. I'm not bashing, Allen Lazard or, Mr. Jake Kumaro, excuse me. I almost called him Camaro there. That would have been bad. I'm looking at all his receivers. Jimmy Graham hasn't been his normal self when he was the way he was with the Saints or the Seahawks. Just looking at it, he doesn't have the same receiving core. But at the same time of that, you flip it back to Aaron Jones has really evolved this year. Aaron Jones has come alive.
Yeah, definitely.
I believe he's the. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think he's the last 1,000-yard rusher since Eddie Lacy, and I obviously that's not too far back, but Eddie Lacy was. Let's face it, after he, found the buffet, didn't exactly get back into it. But, after, kind of looking at this, that's not really necessarily a bash on Rodgers, though, because his weapons, you compare him to, let's say, I don't know, the Chiefs, who, by the way, just made it to the Super Bowl. One heck of a thing there. We'll get into that later. But if he had Tyreek Hill, if he had Travis Kelce, McCole Hardman, and the list goes on. If he had all those targets, I believe Aaron Rodgers would throw for at least 30 to 40 touchdown range, because I believe targets are a big thing. Kirk Cousins is a great example of that. He's Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs. So I think it's a big thing at targets. But what I'm trying to say about Aaron Rodgers is that he's not his old self when he hasn't had the greatest receivers in the past. He doesn't have a lot of dime throws, as many as he has. And I don't, again, that's not all on him. But at the end of the day, I still think that he's aging. And it tends to happen with these quarterbacks. What about the running game? I really want to hear what you, like, as a Packers fan, it's got to be different seeing the running game really come alive, because I just feel like Aaron Jones was kind of a maybe guy. Oh, he could be pretty good. I don't know. And then this year, 16 touchdowns during the regular season? He's a big reason as to why you guys are as far deep in the playoffs as you are. What's it like seeing the run game come alive?
It's really nice. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, just having a running back. I mean, like you said, we had Eddie Lacy. I mean, a couple years ago, and he was amazing for 1 year. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, he just gained a lot of weight and never really lost any of that weight. So, I mean, having a running game, it's always nice to just rely on a good running back like Aaron Jones. He does a great job. He runs hard, and then even after that, you have Jamal Williams that comes in. Mm-hmm. Jamal Williams he knows his role. He does his job. I mean, it's just nice having that. I mean, like you said, we don't have as many receiving targets as we used to have. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have Devontae Adams. Jimmy Graham he drops a lot of passes, but I mean, he's Jimmy Graham. I mean, you're still going to attract attention. It's just nice being able to hand the ball to Aaron Jones on first down, and he can get you 5, 6, 7 yards.
Yep. Yeah. And that's something I've noticed, when the Packers beat the Vikings, both times, might I add. At first, it was Aaron Rodgers. I think the first game was 3 touchdowns. The Vikings all of a sudden woke up and were finally ready to play. And then Kirk Cousins kind of blew it for him, but that's just how it goes. And then I look at this, looking at the run game, the Vikings got gashed. I mean, against the 49ers, against the Packers. And I'll get to the 49ers game in a little bit here. But I mean, just looking at this, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to do everything now. That's the one thing I think everybody's not realizing. Obviously Aaron Rodgers, he's, again, the most talented quarterback to ever come into the game. But now with this added pressure, that pressure that's been alleviated, if you will. It's my word of the day. I'm learning new words. And he's been a little bit alleviated, and he's been able to kind of just, give the pressure to, Aaron Jones, have it taken off of him, and being able to, move forward with this. And, right now the 49ers are up 7-0. I believe you're going to start seeing some more, some play action stuff. And that's something also. Play action has been really good for Green Bay as he rolls out and tries to heave a pass. I actually just saw, are you watching the game right now?
Yeah, I have it up on my phone.
Yeah, I just watched him. Literally, as I just say, the dude can't make great throws. He just literally puts a laser right on. I think that's Lazard, or no, it's Devontae.
Yeah, it was Lazard.
Lazard, okay. Yeah, it was Lazard. Literally just puts a laser on the dude right as I say he's done making those throws. But what I mean is he's not making those as often. That's a heck of a bullet there. And Vikings fans would love to see something like that from Kirk Cousins. But anywho, let's go kind of in the Vikings game, and maybe you can kind of tell me what you've seen here, especially since you guys are already playing the 49ers. I have watched the Vikings for 17 years now. Been a diehard fan for 23 years, 17 years. I'm 23 years old now. I'm looking at all this, and I looked at the Vikings game, and I actually watched tape. And maybe it's painful for you too, but every time I go through a Vikings loss, I watch the tape, and it hurts me because I have to relive what just happened. But it's a little bit better. The taste isn't as fresh in my mouth. So I am able to look at the offensive line. I'm able to look at some of the reads that the quarterbacks are making defensively as well. Missed tackles, missed gap alignments, all that jazz. And to me, it wasn't necessarily that the Vikings didn't have the personnel to take down the 49ers. They got the ball shoved down their throats, and I think that was something that's a little bit of concern if you're the Vikings defense. Again, who, if you look at it, the Packers did it. There were a couple of other teams that did. This wasn't a new thing. This was kind of shocking, especially after last year. Last year had a really good defense. This year, at times, it looked almost non-existent. Maybe give me some things maybe that you noticed from that 49ers and Vikings game, even if you didn't watch it.
Well, I knew coming into the game. I'm obviously not a Vikings fan, so I was kind of hoping. I mean, I was actually hoping they'd win, but I mean, just going into the game, you knew that they didn't have a real good shot at winning the game, but you knew that if they had any chance of winning the game, they're gonna have to take shots down the field. And it just seemed like, from what I watched in the game, they didn't really take any shots. Mm-hmm. It was like that with the Seahawks in the first half of that game, of the Packers game as well. They just didn't take any shots to get any momentum swings or anything.
Yep.
And so I think that was my biggest thing with that. And then, as you said, they got gashed. The defense really did. I mean, with the Packers game, that when they played in the regular season, Aaron Jones just ran right down their throat, it seemed like.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, but I don't know. I just think that's the biggest thing, is that their defense just was very non-existent in that game.
Mm-hmm. And it's for something that's me. Again, I watched the tape. I go back and watch it. We got guys like Linval Joseph, who's been in the Pro Bowl quite a bit. And then that other defensive tackle spot after Sheldon Richardson left, there's really not a lot of guys that really stepped out. I mean, Shamar Stephen's serviceable. He's a good starter, 7th-round draft pick, a good story. But looking at it, it's just like I can't believe that he literally just that other defensive tackle spot has been kind of somewhat of a something that's rough to watch, especially considering, I mean, a couple of teams run down the Vikings' throats, and that was something that the Vikings did very well, stopping the run and the pass. They had a very good defense, and now this year it was just something that it gashed them. And again, in those big games, mainly is what I saw. And then also, if you look at the fact, and maybe you noticed this too, I watched just about every single game this year, and I swear, just about every long pass, there was quite a few passes this year that were freak plays, that shouldn't have been made by anybody. They literally, the quarterback would have thrown it up and the player just is somehow magically there. There's no Viking defender that can make a play on the ball in the entire roster. So it was kind of shocking to me. I don't know. It was just complete unlucky season, even though they did make the divisional round, but just completely unlucky. They couldn't get the run game going. Offensive line, if the Vikings don't get rid of Pat Elflein, I'm going to lose my mind. Seriously, I don't want to take shots at a guy. And I realized it was his first year playing guard since college. But there's, we both played football in high school, and we both know that, especially offensive line-wise, and we both know the basic techniques. There is some things that just never change along any type of any position playing the offensive line or the defensive line, like leverage, keeping yourself anchored, punch, all that jazz. And it just seems to completely gone out the window on some. I don't know. And then Riley Reef actually played against his brother in high school. Dude's legit.
Very legit, yes.
Yeah. And I look at him, and Riley Reef was okay. I'll give the man some props. He's a serviceable left tackle, but I think, especially how expensive he is and how expensive left tackles are, I really think the Vikings are going to move on from him. But, I mean, again, we'll get into the Vikings, their offseason moves in another episode. But, again, I just think the Vikings offensive line heavy this offseason and everything that they're going to go through. Let's see here. A lot of other things to cover, and we have to actually get into a bye week. And this is one thing I noticed. The Ravens fell, obviously. I don't want to say they choked, because I felt like the Ravens, despite losing to I think it was the Titans.
Yep.
They still put up one heck of a fight, and they just couldn't punch the ball in, which was something that I noticed. But the question is that I think a lot of people are asking, did the Ravens choke? And I'll turn it over to you. Do you believe that the Ravens choked?
I don't know if they choked. I mean, I think that's kind of stretching it a little bit. What I do think, though, is that, I mean, you look back and Harbaugh didn't play Lamar Jackson. He didn't play Mark Ingram in the week 17 or the last week of the regular season or whatever. So they basically didn't play football, actual football, for almost a month. Yep. I mean, and just coming back out and playing the Titans, who just had a lot of momentum, knocking off the previous Super Bowl champions and Tom Brady.
Yep.
I mean, you come back and you have Derrick Henry, who is, in my opinion, the best running back in the NFL without a question. I mean, just watching him in the last couple of weeks, it's just wow, that dude is a freak.
Yep.
But I mean, I think the bye week has, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. I would say there's more pros, but when you don't play your star quarterback, probably MVP of the NFL, then you don't play your running back, who has been extremely cocky all year, which he has a reason to be cocky in Mark Ingram. Yeah. But when you don't play for a whole month, obviously you're going to be extremely flat. Mm-hmm. And with that game, one of the biggest things that the Ravens did extremely well in the regular season was convert on fourth downs.
Yep.
They were 0 for 5 on fourth downs in that game. Mm-hmm. I mean, and maybe that's just an execution thing. That's an X and O's thing. But, I mean, granted, you got to give props to the Titans. They adjusted very well. Mm-hmm. But I think that there's pros and cons. But, I mean, when you don't play for a month, that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, exactly. And there was something I believe when we, I think even in high school football or whether it's college football, I still think that bye week definitely helps obviously heal the bruises. I mean, it's during the regular season. It helps heal the bruises, get back out there, loosen up a little bit, and, just kind of regroup in some cases. But I've just seen this too much. I think it's almost, I really want to say it's almost too much of a, I don't know if it's an advantage anymore because, again, you just said it. The Titans went in there, took care of business against the Patriots, and then they go in against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and can't take care of business there. So I'm looking at, I don't even know if it's an advantage anymore because, again, I think teams, that have momentum, like the Ravens did, who I said were the hottest team in football for most
without
of
a
the
question.
season.
Yeah.
And I believe I said that on multiple occasions. And it's going into that, I think that losing that kind of momentum, it was absolutely huge and not playing was like that. I think it hurt them. So I think that's what ultimately led to it. And again, Lamar Jackson couldn't punch it in through a couple of picks too. So again, not an easy thing. But again, I just don't see it as as an advantage quite anymore, even though I could be wrong. Also, Larry Fitzgerald is coming back for his 17th season. Absolutely. I love it, Larry Fitzgerald. I really do. Even though I think he should have played for the Vikings, I would have loved that. Because the man's from Minneapolis, and the Vikings haven't had a number one wide receiver other than, Thielen and Diggs for a while. And looking at that, I was just ecstatic that the man's coming back. Your initial reaction when you saw that?
I mean, you got to give him credit. How old is he now? Like 38?
He's getting up there.
Yeah, he's getting up there. And the thing is, he's that old and he's still making plays.
Yeah.
I mean, even this year he was. I mean, I don't know how many touchdowns he had. I didn't look at his stats or anything, but I know that he was still making plays at that age. And so, I mean, right there, you just he's a living legend. So you got to give him credit.
Yeah, he's 36. So 36. I mean, he could have a couple more years of being like a number 3 wide receiver. But I mean, the legend of Larry Fitzgerald lives on both as a pass catcher and as a guy, because I think he's just a good man. And looking at this. Yeah, and I think the Murray thing, getting Kyler Murray in was big too, because the first 2 games you see here, I think they were really hitting their stride. Larry Fitzgerald had 2 straight 100-yard games, and I think that it was one of those things where you're looking at it. He like you said, he can still ball a little bit. He only had 4 touchdowns this year, which is down from 6 a year ago. But I mean, 75 catches, 800 yards, 4 scores. Those are really good number 3 wide receiver numbers. The man has scored over 100. He has scored exactly 120 touchdowns, 17,000 receiving yards, receptions over 13,050. I mean, this dude is just a living legend. I am just ecstatic that he's back, for not only for what he brings to the Cardinals organization and what he has brought to them, but just as a fan, just seeing that guy come back. It wouldn't be. I don't know if it would be the same NFL without him.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Let's see here. Do you believe that going through all of this, that Larry Fitzgerald, do you think he could play until he's 40?
Oh, man. I don't know about that. He's a wide receiver, but I don't really think he could. I would guess next year is his last year.
Yeah, because they brought him back on a 1-year deal still.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Playing until you're 40 as a wide receiver would be an extremely hard thing to do. Yeah, I mean, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're being honest. But, I mean, I'd like to see him play till he's 40. That'd be a really cool thing to see.
Yeah. What about Aaron Rodgers? Because I know a lot of people, really think that Aaron Rodgers could keep doing this. I'm looking at it, and again, I'm not taking shots at Aaron Rodgers. I love and I hate the guy, because you look, as a Vikings fan, I hate him because he's taken so much away from me emotionally. And then also you love him because of just what the plays that he makes. So I'm looking at this. And there was some, my buddy Tristan is usually on tonight. He always says, he told me that Aaron Rodgers could play till he's 40. I don't know that I see that. I really don't know that, because what's he at, 32 right now? He's not that old, but surprisingly, because
he's older than that.
Is he? He's got 34. I know he's not that old. Oh, he's 36.
36. I thought he was 36, but
I apologize. I was wrong. 36. Looking at this, 4 more years. And again, Aaron Rodgers does also take excellent care of the football. He doesn't even have 100 interceptions, and he's been in the NFL for quite a long. He's been in the NFL for 14, 15 years, whatever it's been. Extremely good care of the football. What about Aaron Rodgers? Could he play till he's 40?
That's also a hard question. Like you said earlier in the podcast, he's kind of slowing down this year. He really hasn't looked like he has in the past. I mean, I was talking to my brother earlier today, actually, and I said this 49ers game feels like the divisional round between the Cowboys and Packers a couple years ago.
Yep.
And in that game, Aaron Rodgers was a man. He was just dropping dots everywhere, but you have to have that Aaron Rodgers for this game too.
Yeah.
And up to this point in the season, he has not been anywhere close to that. Bringing back the Lions game, he missed so many throws that game. I think he had over 10 overthrows or something like that. It was not good. But I mean, granted, he shows up when he needs to, but he just makes it so heart-wrenching when he's not playing up to that point. So playing until he's 40, I mean, I don't really think he can. It hurts me to say that, but I just really don't see it.
That raises another question too. If Aaron Rodgers cannot play until he's 40, franchise quarterback numero, what is it, Quattro now? Because you guys have had 3, Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers. The Vikings have had arguably 1 in Fran Tarkenton, because we both know Dante Culpepper was not a franchise quarterback, even though he played very well at times. Christian Ponder, no. There's a lot of other quarterbacks I could keep going on. Warren Moon, I mean, that's a really good probably argument there. But honestly, they've never had, in my opinion, I don't think the Vikings have ever had a quarterback that they've drafted from the beginning and developed. And it's tough because, I mean, I most specifically went through Tavares Jackson, Christian Ponder, Brooks Bollinger, Brett Favre for those 2 years. It's been tough for me. Now Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum had a good year, Sam Bradford. I could keep going on. But the Packers have had mainly 1 or 2 guys that have been steady guys that come in and start and do really well when Aaron Rodgers isn't injured or Brett Favre isn't injured as well. So me looking at this, if the Packers, if Aaron Rodgers cannot play until he's 40, which I'm going to say right now, I don't think he can. Again, I'm not taking shots at the man, because you Packer fans love your Aaron Rodgers, understandably so. He got you a Super Bowl. He is, like I said, the most talented. But the man, looking at this now, last year, would you be, let me say this, would it be fair to assume that last year he was not healthy?
Oh, 100%, yes.
100%. So this year, when the man is fully healthy, he throws for less yards. He throws for one more touchdown and throws 2 more picks. Now, Aaron Rodgers, again, takes tremendous care of the football, so the 2 picks don't worry me. That's whatever. He threw 4 picks this year. Give the man a break. But I would also say it's probably fair to assume this man has been bailed out by the run game for, I would say, most of the season. Like, okay, maybe bailed out's a little bit hard, or a little bit harsh, but because the man is still Aaron Rodgers, but he has thrown for less yards. He's thrown a lower completion percentage. Again, 1 more touchdown, 2 picks, and all that. I don't see it. I think maybe 1 to 2 more years while you guys draft a quarterback this year, or I keep hearing this Tua talk. I will lose my mind if Tua goes to the Packers and I have to deal with that for another 10 to 15.
I'd love it.
I know you would. I think a lot of Packers fans would, because that would be, again, potentially, franchise quarterback number 4. So it would just be, I would lose my mind, because I wouldn't be able to deal with the insanity of what's happening. But again, I don't think he can deal with it. But I do think he can be kind of a stopgap player until, obviously, he's playing for a Super Bowl today, which, 49ers are up 10-0 right now, but you never count Aaron Rodgers out. He's playing to go to the Super Bowl. Could this be the new Packers identity, though? I mean, if you think about it, running the football, Aaron Rodgers, like you said, showing up when he has to. And really, I mean, he's really done that most of his career. Like, when the game's on the line, you give him the football and let him do his thing. Like, that's just Aaron Rodgers. But, I mean, could this be the new Packers identity until they find more of a gunslinging quarterback?
I mean, as a Packers fan, I mean, if we have to rely on the run, I mean, I guess we can. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd rather rely on Aaron Rodgers being able to sling it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, if you're getting up to that age and you have a young running back in Aaron Jones, you can rely on Aaron Jones.
Yep.
But I mean, it's a two-sided question. Yeah. I mean, I don't really think that the run game is their identity, because they still have Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, so I mean, obviously they're still going to be looking to sling the ball around.
Uh-huh.
It's nice to have Aaron Jones, though.
Yeah, I should maybe kind of calibrate here a little bit. Obviously, I mean, what I'm saying is Aaron Rodgers, again, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and most talented. I'm just looking at this. I just think at some point the question has to be raised if perhaps looking at this, if you guys are running the football, why change it? Like, I think, I'm lucky enough to be, Winter Advocate staff reporter. I've watched them make a trip to the Dome this year. I mean, to run the football and play solid defense, that's literally the recipe for a lot of great success. And, I mean, it's not the only recipe, but, I mean, when you're in a small town, you got, 3 or 4 good running backs, a good offensive line, and a coach that has patented smash mouth football. You run the football. And, looking at this, coming from that and looking at this and what the Vikings do most of the time, run the football and are pretty successful at it. I had to ask the question because, Aaron Rodgers, if at some point, I even as much as as a rival as he is, at some point, if Aaron Rodgers is not fully himself, I just still think that maybe they have to ask that question because you got to do what's best for your franchise. But again, it's Aaron Rodgers, one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever do it. So, now, another kind of a little bit of a shocking thing this week, I think I just got out of the shower. I was listening to Thomas Rhett and his new album, Cedar Point Road, I believe that's what it's called. And if you don't like Thomas Rhett, you need to look out yourself. And
I agree with that.
Because this is absolutely Center Point Road, excuse me. I'm sorry, I apologize. Center Point Road, and I was listening to it, and I got out of the shower, and I saw that Luke Kuechly retired. And I was I couldn't believe it because, and immediately I opened up Facebook and the question was asked, is he an immediate Hall of Famer? And I'm like, what? Like, don't get me wrong. Luke Kuechly has been arguably the best middle linebacker in football for the past, 8, 9, 10 years? Yeah. There's no arguing that. Coming out of Boston College, this dude was an animal. But to come out and say that this man deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, can we tap the brakes a little bit here? I'm glad he's getting out right now because I believe he's had like 10 concussions. The dude's 28, played in the NFL 8 years. He's had 1,000 career tackles only in 8 seasons. And if you look at it, he has missed, 6 there, 3 and 1, 6. He's missed 10 games in his NFL career, which, by the way, in 8 years, 10 games, that's not bad at all.
Not bad at all.
Very durable player. And despite having 10 concussions, literally has only missed that amount of games. Like, I'm just like, that's crazy. And 1,000 tackles in 8 years, ball hawk, 18 picks, 12.5 sacks. Like, literally, one of the greatest middle linebackers in the game for the last 8 years. And but Hall of Fame, like, he went to 1 Super Bowl, and he got his defense got beat by a really old Peyton Manning.
A very old Peyton Manning, yeah.
A very old Peyton Manning who was on his last leg, was just trying to win a Super Bowl and
barely throw a spiral.
Yes, yeah, he was trying to just go win a Super Bowl on that Broncos defense, which was, again, understandable. All you had to do was score a couple points, and the Broncos defense was going to do the rest. Yeah. But looking at this, I have to ask you: does Luke Kuechly deserve to be in the Hall of Fame?
I say immediately no. I mean, obviously, at some point, yes, I think he does. Mm-hmm. But an immediate Hall of Famer is that's a bold statement for a guy who's only 30 years old.
Yep.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Luke Kuechly, he's a legend. He was an amazing middle linebacker. I played middle linebacker in high school, and watching Luke Kuechly was like literally watching what you wanted to be. Yeah. Because he played the game right. I mean, you just knew that he knew what he was doing, and he knew what everyone on the defense was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. He knew what the offense was doing. He literally would call out plays.
Exactly, yeah. You could tell. I mean, I saw a thing. He canceled his cable subscription in his house, like his fourth year in the league, just so he could watch more film, so he'd focus on it. Yeah. I mean, like, obviously the dude deserves a Hall of Fame spot, but I don't think he deserves a Hall of Fame spot right now. I mean, that's just a little stretch for me.
Yeah, I agree, because when I think of Hall of Fame middle linebackers, I think of the Ray Lewises of the world, who, again, Kuechly led his defense in a similar way, but it was different. You feared Ray Lewis. Like, you feared for your life. Like, you stepped on the field, you got in your position, you looked him straight in the eye, and you gulped because it was Ray Lewis. This man won 2 Super Bowls. I mean, I think he was in the league before the tackles even became an official statistic. So there's no really true measure of how many tackles this man truly had. And he played with a bad elbow in the playoffs, won a Super Bowl at the end of it. Okay, that's a Hall of Fame middle linebacker, okay? And same thing with Brian Urlacher. I mean, it's Brian Urlacher. Dude was a safety coming into the NFL and just was a terror when he got there. Those are middle linebackers that deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, again, he was the best middle linebacker for a long time. I just don't think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It was something that I thought was a little blasphemous, but again, I'm not going to come at a point of attacking him because, again, he was one of the greatest. He was probably the greatest middle linebacker for the last 8 years. Mm-hmm. Other than Bobby Wagner, we got to give that man a little bit of props. And I believe those two were going to make another Pro Bowl. And I think it was going to be really great to see. But other than that, I still think that it was a little bit far-fetched. The Browns have hired Kevin Stefanski. And before we get into this, I just want to say that I called this. I am ecstatic that I actually called one of these and I actually got it right. I couldn't believe it because Kevin Stefanski is going into a situation where Baker Mayfield, who had, I believe, more commercials this year than wins. And I am ecstatic because I actually truly believe that Stefanski can be the guy that turns around, the Browns franchise. Mr. Connot, can Kevin Stefanski turn around the Browns?
It's a hard question. It's a hard question. I mean, I want him to because I've been a closet Browns fan since they drafted Johnny Manziel. Obviously, that didn't go well for me.
Yeah.
But I really want him to just because, I mean, I like Baker Mayfield. I like Odell Beckham. I like Jarvis Landry. But going into that organization where there's so many big personalities, I think that's going to be a very hard thing to do. The Vikings offense has been very good. I mean, Stefanski has a good offensive scheme. And I don't think Kirk Cousins was the right. I mean, he's a good quarterback. Don't get me wrong, but I think Baker Mayfield is maybe not right now, but in the long run will be a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins.
And I think he is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins right now.
Yeah, I mean, he has a lot more assets than Kirk Cousins does. I will say that. But I hope the best for Stefanski. I was kind of hoping that the Browns would go for Urban Meyer just because
that would have been cool.
It's Urban Meyer. I mean, you don't have to like the guy, but he knows how to win.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean, I think maybe not next year. I don't think it's going to be a 1-year deal. I really hope it does. Honestly, I'm not going to lie. But I mean, I think in the long run, Stefanski will have success with the Browns if they can keep their core that they have right now.
Yep. I'm looking at this, and obviously, you're going into a situation where the guy. I think there's a little bit of tension in the locker room because of, not knowing what's going on with Baker Mayfield. Odell is his own little issue because he deserves the football. Odell does. I mean, I think he's the best wide receiver in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
I think most polarizing wide receiver in the NFL. And if I'm looking at the Browns right now, first of all, you've got your best defensive player suspended for the rest of the year because we all know why. And I think that's going to be a big question mark. Are they going to have to move on from him? Are they going to have to trade? Whatever the deal is there. And if he can ever play again, because I still think that question really definitely needs to be answered. And then also the fact that you've got a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach coming in. And listen, Baker Mayfield brought in Freddie Kitchens because he liked him. I would say that I think it's safe to say Freddie Kitchens got that job because of Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I'm saying that as a quarterback in the NFL, if you have a little bit of comfort in a system or a little bit of comfort in somebody, you typically go for that guy. You try to stick with your man in that case. I think Kevin Stefanski, let's kind of compare the Browns and the Vikings a little bit, okay? Defenses, I think the Vikings obviously have the edge there, but defensive line is pretty good for both teams. And I think that they're surprisingly similar. That's not even mentioning the offensive side of the football, which let's go ahead and do. Okay, quarterbacks. I give the slight edge to Baker Mayfield because, I mean, younger. I believe he's made more better throws.
I think he's more athletic too, just all around.
Yes, but more athletic. I think he's got a little bit more of a clutch factor. I mean, 0-9 on Monday Night Football. I know that doesn't mean anything, but it's a little bit, bigger games. I just think that I would pick Baker Mayfield rather than Kirk Cousins because the man won one playoff game. Come on, let's not go too nuts. And I still think that Nick Chubb is one of the greatest backs in the NFL right now. Nick Chubb does not get enough credit.
And then they have Kareem Hunt right behind him as well.
Exactly. The man can catch the football right out of the backfield. You got two really good running backs, like the Vikings doing Alexander Madison and Dalvin Cook. And you have a couple of good wide receivers in Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. You got a good young quarterback, David Njoku at tight end. Mm-hmm. Offensive line needs some help. That's the Vikings too. I really think that Stefanski is going to be able to come out and be able to transform that Browns offense a little bit. I think he's going to be able to use the play action. I think it was Kirk Cousins who had one of the best play action games the entire year. I think he was the highest rated play action quarterback in the entire NFL. And if he can use that with Baker Mayfield, who's more athletic, I think this could really be the recipe for something good for the Browns. Could the Browns be a playoff team next year? I think so. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, going into last year, I said the same thing. And then Freddie Kitchens was, I mean, I don't have anything against the guy.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't really know him until like last year when they hired him.
Yeah.
But he did not do a good job. I mean, just managing, play calling, everything. He just did a terrible job. And I mean, I hate to put the guy down.
Yeah.
But I agree with a lot of the stuff that he did. But I really do think Stefanski I think he'll have success just because of everything that's around him. And then I think it's just time for the Browns to finally do something as well. I mean, I don't remember what their record was last year, but I mean, they had a decent record.
Yep.
And then also the division they're in they got the Ravens, but I mean, other than that, it's kind of weak. You know, the Steelers aren't what they used to be. Granted, they get Roethlisberger back next year, but he's up there in age as well.
Yep. Exactly. What about let's kind of put a cap on that for a second, because I believe the question here that I really wanted to ask is, what the Chiefs, they're in the AFC the same as the Browns, because I believe the Browns, even if they are a playoff team, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. Let's talk about the Chiefs and what they did today, because they deserve a lot of credit. Can we just give a little bit of credit to Andy Reid, because this guy usually, has developed star quarterbacks pretty easily. Like, I mean, you look at it, Donovan McNabb, and then the most recent one in Patrick Mahomes. Developed quarterbacks, been able to do a fantastic job, and I look at it and I'm extremely happy. He had Alex Smith too in the between there.
Michael Vick when he was with the Eagles too.
Michael Vick. This is fantastic. I'm really happy for the Chiefs right now, because it was a long time coming for Andy Reid, in my opinion. Like, I know he's never. I don't believe he's ever won a Super Bowl. I think he's going to get it, no matter what happens between the 49ers and the Packers. I know the Packers are. Or whoever comes out of this NFC title game, I believe that no matter who it is, I believe that it's Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this guy is. I think he's pushing to be one of the most talented quarterbacks. I think he's pushing Aaron Rodgers a little bit. I really do, because again, I'm going to start by saying this: I don't believe there's a better, more talented quarterback than Aaron Rodgers, or even a more clutch quarterback. I think other than Tom Brady, we have to give that to him. But Aaron Rodgers performs in big moments too. So I think this Super Bowl is going to tell us a lot about Patty Mahomes. So what was your reaction seeing the Chiefs finally win one?
I really would have wished they would have won it last year, because a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl would have been a lot better than a Patriots and Rams Super Bowl. Yeah. But I mean, I'm very happy to see the guy succeed. I mean, when he got drafted, there's a lot of question marks about him. Mahomes, I'm saying, and when he finally got his time, he didn't look back. No. So I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit there. I mean, that's really cool to see. And then just watching him play is just crazy. I mean, just some of the throws that he makes, and I listened to Pardon My Take a lot, that podcast, and one of the guys on there said that Patrick Mahomes is a younger Aaron Rodgers and a little bit more athletic than he is. I mean, that just gives him the edge. I mean. I think that if you compare Rodgers and Mahomes at Mahomes' age, I think Mahomes is more athletic than Rodgers was.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, granted, you can't really compare that right now because Rodgers is 36 years old.
Yep.
But, I mean, I just think it's really cool. Andy Reid deserves this. He definitely deserves this. I mean, just from what he's done in the NFL. So it's really cool to see. Tyreek Hill is so fun to watch. I mean, I think it's going to be extremely hard to beat the Chiefs this year.
Yeah. I think it's the Chiefs Super Bowl to lose, because I believe, I feel like the Super Bowl comes down to like quarterback play, like when it really comes down to it, because quarterback, correct me if I'm wrong, the most important position in the NFL.
Definitely.
So when I'm looking at this, I truly believe that Patty Mahomes is going to outperform Jimmy G. Like, Jimmy G is a pretty good quarterback. I think he's, has to answer some questions about some other things. He's had a really good year this year, and I believe he's got a really good shot at going to the Super Bowl. I think Jimmy G, if we're going to look at it right now, is going to get outperformed by Patty Mahomes. And again, Patty Mahomes has been doing amazing things since, like you said, he got his shot. I think 50 touchdowns in year one. Almost took down the Patriots last year.
Should have,
yes. And this year, I mean, just almost a Cinderella story. I mean, you look at it, McCole Hardman, you said it, Tyreek Hill. Like, this entire Chiefs offense, like you said, is going to be so hard to stop, especially in the Super Bowl, because there is, again, with the game on the line, I trust Patty Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. I trust all those guys way more than I do with Jimmy G and the run-heavy 49ers. Now, I do believe the 49ers are going to give the Chiefs a run for their money. And again, we'll be back on this, this subject Thursday about the Super Bowl. But I do believe if the 49ers go instead of the Packers, it's going to be tough. But wouldn't it be great if if Aaron Rodgers and Mahomes both went at it in the Super Bowl? I feel like that would be one to remember.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be great if the Packers have a long ways to go for that to happen right now.
Yeah.
But
down 17-0, but it could happen.
Yeah, exactly.
You never count out Aaron Rodgers.
No, never count out Aaron Rodgers. And there's so much time left in this game.
Yeah. Oh, I know. There's still an entire half, and he just threw a dart to Kumaro.
Yeah.
And so I think, looking at this, I personally, as a fan, I think I would like, and Aaron Rodgers has not had an incompletion yet. So, yeah, I'm looking at this. I would actually be really ecstatic to see Patty Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers go at it in the Super Bowl. And then here goes Jones, who just rips up another big run. See, so, no, again, I think that would be really cool because, young Jedi versus Obi-Wan. Like, this would be...
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I hate to sound like a nerd. Like, I hate to break it to everybody that's listening. I'm a gigantic nerd. So the Star Wars reference had to come out at some point. I think looking at this, though, I think, man, he's got a long way to go, but Aaron Rodgers, you just never count the man out. And there's just a lot of different ways that Aaron Rodgers could do it. Obviously, I think he's going to mix it up real well heading into here. He can run the football. He can throw it. And I think it's something that is going to shape up for a really good game for the rest here. I also saw Phillip Rivers might be out of the NFL. That's going to be, he's at least not going to be a Charger anymore. That's going to be pretty shocking because what's he been there for? He's been over there over 10 years, I believe, especially since Drew Brees left. So I'm looking. That's going to be really shocking for me not to see Phillip Rivers with the Chargers. Like, that's going to be pretty shocking to see. I don't know what's going to happen there. Possible destinations for Phillip Rivers?
That's hard.
Yeah. Quarterback needy teams, buddy.
You could say the Dolphins, you could say the Bengals, but if I was those organizations, I would personally go for a younger quarterback. I wouldn't go for a Phillip Rivers, who is obviously very interception prone, as he's proved over the years. Yep. But granted, you could also look at it as like the Packers did with like Favre and Rodgers. Obviously Favre mentored Rodgers a lot. You can look at it with Tom Brady and Jimmy G as well.
Yeah.
Look at where that went. So that could be one focal point if you're one of those organizations. Bring him in. Get some experience under the other guy. Phillip Rivers is there to help mentor that. Him. Mm-hmm. So.
And then Tyrod Taylor. I think the Chargers don't really have another answer at quarterback other than Tyrod Taylor, who again has been good at times and other times inconsistent. So I'm looking at this. I don't think he's going to be the answer. So it will be interesting to me to see who is going to come in to LA and see what they can muster. It does leave me a little bit sad, though. Like, I have to be real with some people here. It's been an honor watching Phillip Rivers with the Chargers. Like, the man has been doing what he's been doing for a long time. He's one of those guys that you just good quarterback. You respect him, and you look back on it, and you're just like, wow, it's going to be wow. It's thoroughly going to be one of those things where it's going to be weird. Like, I'm not going to get emotional because I don't have any emotional attachment to this guy, whatever. But like, it's just like, it reminds me, A, of how old I'm getting, and B, of the fact that literally it's going to be gone and it's not going to be back anymore. Man, and even though the Packers are still down 17-0,
they just turned it over too.
Did they really? I didn't. Yeah. Oh no. Well, we'll see what happens. I still think it's going to be a really good game moving forward. Can I get your early? Let's say pretend the game is at 0-0 right now. Let's pretend. First of all, who's going to go to the Super Bowl? Obviously, the Chiefs. Do you think the Packers are going to go?
I'm going to have a bold prediction here and say that the Packers will make it to the Super Bowl.
Wow, you get down 17-0 before halftime. You think?
I got faith.
Okay.
Like I said earlier, the Packers play one good half and one terrible half. They're just getting their terrible half out of the way right now, you know?
Okay, that's a good point. I mean, way to go back there and like reach back from what you said. I like it.
Yeah, I know. I set that up perfectly.
You did. I have to give you major props. Okay, let's see here. Okay, if Aaron Rodgers, Patty Mahomes, Super Bowl, who do you pick?
I got to go with, like you said earlier, Obi-Wan. I mean, I got to go with Rodgers. He's got to get that second ring. He's got to get it at some point.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's if he does? Let's say the impossible happens. Is that goodbye? Is that deuces?
I hope not.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope not. But if it is, I guess at least we go out on a good note.
Yeah. And then again, I mean, there's still some good quarterbacks. I believe there's I'm trying to remember the kid's name that was playing during the preseason, but I watched him a lot. And I just think that even if Rodgers did go, the Packers have a funny way of I think it's Tim Doyle or Boyle. I can't remember his name. And I just feel like even if he does retire, which again I doubt, I think he wants to get another Super Bowl, and rightfully so. I just feel like there's going to be too much for him to try to accomplish. It's Tim Boyle, excuse me. I've seen some really good things out of him. So I think that'll pretty much do it for tonight. First of all, man, I just got to really appreciate you for coming on, man. That's I know it was got some things messed around. Schedule got a little bit kerfuffled. So again, I really appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll be sure to get you back on again in the future. But until then, once again, remember to give us a like, give us a comment, and also remember to subscribe to the Sports Beat Podcast. Follow us on all social media platforms. We're on everything now. So again, please everybody just have a good night and take her easy.